and welcome back to my channel, Thrifty Day. On today's episode, I'm going to be making a whole layout as a collab with one of my favorite small businesses, Your Creative Studio. I love the Your Creative Studio subscription boxes so much because the variety is amazing, the paper products, the rubber stamps, the stickers. I love all of it, and it's such a wonderful way to build your journaling supplies. All of their information is linked in the description box below, so let's get started on the layout now. I'm having such a great time journaling in my VHS journal. I have it in this case. I did have these cases in my shop. They have already sold out, and I'm doing my best to restock them. Today's layout, the only personal ephemera I have are these photos of me from the 90s. Yes, I was a 90s queen, and so I'm going to use those. I also just have some general supplies, and I find when you could put your supplies on a cute little plate or tray, it's very inspiring. I don't know why, and I love this little vintage tin plate. It makes me happy. So I gathered all my supplies and I put them on there, and I'm ready to go. In this journal, I have just sort of realized that I am journaling chronologically, so I'm just going to keep doing that. So this was the next page in my journal. The first thing I'm going to use are one of these beautiful paper. It's like stationery almost. It's thin. It's a thin, pretty paper. And so I'm going to pick one with a flower on it because I do have a flower in the picture. And I'm just going to start by gluing it partly on that music note paper and partly on the other vintage book page. I'm going to use my glue stick. This is the kind of glue stick you will find in my journal junk. Right now, journal junk is sold out, but I am going to restock it this week, so that's good news. I love this glue because it's very sticky, and it just goes a long way, and I love that it's very clear. So this, like I said, this is the journal junk glue. So if you get journal junk and you get a glue stick, it will be this glue. So I'm just making sure that the image is completely adhered to the page, and that will be my base. I love it. It's very inspiring, quite beautiful. I love the flower on it. And then I'm going to move on to the next part, which is I'm going to just rip a piece of this pea green, for lack of a better descriptive word, paper. It's a vintage page that came out of an old manual. So I decided to keep the paper because it was thick and I loved the color so much. So I decided to just cut a little piece just by hand. I just kind of eyeball it. And because I don't want all that bright white sort of showing through, I'm going to use my Tim Holtz Distress ink and just go around the perimeter of that green piece of scrap paper. So I'll put something underneath it so it doesn't go onto my journal page underneath. But I just use my little blotter and I go around the whole perimeter of that green piece of paper. A few of you have asked before, and I got that blotter at Michael's. I also got the ink there. So I'm just going to use my glue stick one more time, and I am going to glue that green piece of paper just right onto the side of the page. That is actually one of my favorite colors too, so I think it was just a pretty piece of personal ephemera, I guess you can call it, to add to the page. And now I'm going to trim down that picture of myself in the 90s. And I'm going to put it onto the page. I do find a lot of times that I don't journal about myself. I journal about my dogs a lot, my kids, my family a lot. I journal a lot about my friends and my experiences, but I don't really put pictures of myself as often as I should into my journal. So that sort of was my goal for this layout, is to add some pictures of myself, especially from the past, because it's important to remember. And right before I was going to stick down that picture of myself, I realized I wanted to add a little more color to the page. So these beautiful floral scrap pieces came in the subscription box also. And so I want to go ahead and use one of them. I couldn't decide which one. So this is just me sort of, flipping through those pages and deciding which one will work best. I ultimately go with that burgundy one with the little flowers on it. And I use my glue stick to put that scrap onto the page, and I'm just adding it for color. And I loved the print, so I felt like it added a lot to the layout. So now that that floral piece of paper is down, I will add that photo of myself, and I will begin to move on to the next step in this page. I was sort of flying by the seat of my pants with this one, and so I just kind of started looking through all the different supplies they sent and in the subscription box. And I just started using things that sort of spoke to me. And as I flipped through this little ticket book, these are sort of transparent pieces of paper, I saw one that said Smith and something, I don't even know. But in the 90s, when I was in high school, the Smiths were my favorite band. So when I saw Smith, I thought, oh, well, this definitely has to go on the page. So I took that little piece of paper and put it at the top and decided I would use it. And then I knew I wanted to use these little tags that came with this Your Creative Studio box too, because they just look really neat. And I thought they could really add some dimension to the page. So I picked one that said number, and then later I'm going to go on there after I distress it a little bit and write 1993, because that is the year the picture was taken. So I'm just adding that distress ink, mainly because I don't want a sort of bright white tag sticking out of the page. I think these colors are a little bit more muted, so I wanted it to reflect the theme of the page. And now I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going to put that Smith piece of paper, and I just use my glue stick and I just stick it sort of on the green page and a little bit over the photo, and it's completely see-through, so it worked out well because it's not like it took anything away from the photo at all. And it has a little bit of a meaning as well, which is kind of neat. Even though it's new ephemera, it's not personal ephemera, it still has a little bit of a meaning, even though it's not personal. I also added some of that beautiful Your Creative Studio washi tape, and I just love the way it looks. I also added some on the other side because I liked the way it looks so much. And so I'm going to use my glue stick again. I'm going to add that tag now just right at the bottom of the page. I really love using tags and labels in my journaling because you can write the year on things or really small journaling. And that's something that's really neat about the Your Creative Studio boxes. They always have a very large variety of labeling and tags that they include in their boxes. I love that so much about those boxes. And so now you just see me using my stamps, and I am stamping 1993 because, like I said, that was the year the photo was taken. And I don't really care that it looks kind of messy. I don't ever try to stamp perfect because I've learned that I can't. I don't know if I press too hard, I don't know, but it doesn't bother me. I kind of think it looks neat in my journaling that it isn't perfect. These beautiful washi stickers also came in this month's Your Creative Studio box. So I'm just sort of going through them all and trying to pick one as the centerpiece inside that green piece of paper. They're also beautiful. It was hard to decide. So as you can see, I'm making a little bit of a mess, but I just wanted to make sure I picked the right one because they were so pretty. I can't wait to use them in my future journaling layouts. So I picked one. I loved it because it looked almost a little bit like dead flowers. And so I just put that right in the center of that green piece of paper. And it also kind of overlaid the vellum sticker and the picture, which I also thought was really neat. So now I'm going to use these cards. They are beautiful, heavy-duty cardstock, and they're printed on both sides, which is really cool. So because they were printed on both sides, I decided I just wanted to add one into the center of my journaling and have that second photo on one side, and then I was going to do my journaling on the other because they're both so pretty that I wanted both to show. So I'll use some washi tape just to stick it right in the middle of my journal. But the first thing I'm going to do is add that photo of me and my friends. We were in Uptown Whittier, and I still remember that day like it was yesterday. I don't know who had a disposable camera, but we took tons of pictures that day. We took pictures of ourselves in Uptown Whittier. We took pictures of ourselves at Mimi's Cafe. We took pictures holding roses. We took pictures holding this silly Barbie. We made Gothic Barbie. I don't know. It was a really fun day. I remember it like it was yesterday. So now that I've put that photo of us on there, I'm going to use some thick washi tape, and I'm going to put it on one side and just add that card right into the center of my journal. So I'm just trimming this thick washi tape because it's like a whole segment that kind of goes together, so I wanted to make sure that that segment was on the card. But there was this cute little mushroom on the end that I didn't want to throw it away, so I just stuck it in the corner. And now I'm going to use that segment of that washi tape and just stick it right down into the center of my journal. And as soon as the thicker side one is on clear, I'm going to add a thinner piece of washi tape on the other side just to make sure it doesn't lift and come out over time. So I'm using the washi tape that came in the Your Creative Studio box. Now this is the part of the journaling where I'm going, I don't know what I'm doing next. Let me just keep flipping this card back and forth until I decide. So I finally decided. I think I'm going to add one more little sticker at the bottom, and I'm pretty close to being done. So I chose this little vine washi sticker, and I just add it right there to the corner of my photo, right over that pretty burgundy floral paper. And then just when I thought I was done, I remembered it came with this little vellum tag pack. And as I flipped through, I realized there were some that weren't white. They were like colored, kind of, they looked vintage. And this one had daisies on it. And it was so pretty. So I just trimmed it down. I fold it in half. And then I decide to stick it right onto that little card insert. I'm just going to staple it on because it's so pretty. The image is so pretty. And as I show you a close-up later, you'll be able to see why I chose it. So now I'm just going to add that date stamp because I do like stamping my layouts. And I'm going to add my journaling off camera, and here is my finished product. This was such a fun layout to do because it was about me and a wonderful memory. And it felt really special to be able to talk about how back then I was really insecure about the way I looked. But now I look back at those pictures and think, my gosh, why didn't you know how amazing and individualistic and unique and special you were? So it's always important to remember that. So thank you so much, Your Creative Studio, for sending me this beautiful box of goodies. I had so much fun creating with it. I hope you were inspired as well in this layout to journal about yourself, to be proud of who you are, and to be as creative as you can be.